Hey y'all, it's Ryan. So the time has changed. We have lost an hour, which means spring is officially here, which means allergies, flowers, and cute little baby animals. So today we're going to draw this cute little duck. So grab your drawing tools and let's get to it. So for our cute little baby duck that we're going to draw today, I'm going to do a couple things to set up my canvas. First off, the canvas size that we're going to be using is 3000 by 3000 pixels, and the DPI is set to 300. Also, within my actions wrench, I'm going to be on canvas. I'm going to turn on my drawing guides. I'm also going to use this image as a reference. So I'm going to turn on reference. And here's my image. Now, if you don't have anything there, you're going to click Image, Import, pick it from the pictures that are on your iPad, and then you can resize, and you can also move your image or your reference around your screen wherever it works best for you. Okay. So I'm gonna set my background color to white for right now. And then I'll go back in and I'll set it to that really light blue after I get everything done. And then I'm going to turn off my image so that we can get started. All right, so first I'm going to click on my layers and click New Layer. I'm going to tap this layer and click Rename. And I'm going to label this Sketch. I'm going to make sure I have black selected. And then the pencil I'm going to use is this 6B pencil for my sketch. Now, because this duck is really cute and cartoon looking, his head is going to be a lot larger than the rest of his body. I'm going to zoom in on my reference picture. And then I'm going to draw just a hook, essentially. So that's going to connect the back of his tail. And then I'm going to draw a really cute rounded body. So I have a nice circle for the head and then a bean shape basically for his body. Okay. Oops. I'm going to just draw two short little lines for his legs. Okay, and then the rain boots are going to be two tall rectangles with the curve for the toe. And I like doing a sketch like this because then I can come back in with my color and add all of that in at once. And I can really finalize where I like the lines and where I want them. Okay. Now I'm gonna add a beak kind of facing up so it looks like he's looking up at the rain falling down. And then his wings are going to be holding onto our umbrella. Okay. Now the umbrella is going to be hidden behind his head, but you're going to be able to see it coming through his wings. So again, in the sketch, I'm just going to draw a straight line down. And then at the end, I can add my little swirl for the embellishment. And then for the umbrella, I find it easiest to come from the top of this line and draw an arc out. And then again on the other side. And then I draw one nice big arch going up and around for the top of my umbrella. Again, add a cute little knob at the top. And there we go. Now I'm going to make him I'm going to have him standing in a puddle. I'm gonna draw my lines, putting him in this puddle. And I'm gonna have puddles off to the sides of him as well. Okay. The last piece for our sketch is going to be these big raindrops falling down. And I'm just going to draw oblong circles that are connected up at the top with a point. So they look like raindrops. I'm also going to put a couple kind of splashes coming off the top of his umbrella. And then just some lines coming in to show that movement of the water, the raindrops falling down. You can also come into the puddles and add kind of those drops here as well if you wanted. His eye is going to be right about there. All right, so next we're going to move on and we're going to start adding color into our image. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my drawing guides off. I'm going to leave my reference picture on just so I can remember kind of where I put placement of daisies and all of my little details. I'm going to come into my layers, click the plus sign to add a new layer on top, come into my sketch layer and turn it down to about 50%, just so it's in the background, but I'm really drawing on top of it. In my colors, I do have a palette set up for the baby duck that I used. If you would like to use this, I will link it in the description box below. So I'm going to start with this dark yellow for my outline. And I like to come in and do a darker outline and then add a lighter shade into the actual drawing. So I'm going to make sure my pencil is set to this dry ink brush. I really like the texture that it gives on drawings, and then I don't need to make it perfect. So I'm just going to start by kind of outlining his head. Okay. And then I like to build in layers. So I'm going to add a layer in between my sketch and that his head. I'm going to continue outlining the rest of his body and his wings. And I'm going to put each one in different layers. So that way when I come into the actual drawing, I can use clipping masks and I can add shadows and all of that to it. So the next thing I'm going to outline is going to be his body right here. Again, using that dry ink brush and the dark yellow. If you would like crisper or cleaner lines, you can totally use the monoline brush that is found in Procreate and just go through and outline your sketch that we did. Okay, a new layer in between. This is going to be this front wing. Okay. And then I'm going to put his back wing below the outline of his body. Okay. Next, I'm going to switch to black. I'm going to add his cute little legs down here. And I'm going to change to this blue, this dark blue in the second column for his boots. Okay, and then in between where his head and his top wing are, I'm going to add the beak. So I'm going to go to this dark orange. Okay, so I'm going to start filling in the color of the duck before moving on to the umbrella or anything like that, because I do want to make sure that I get this completely filled in so you don't see any of the umbrella behind him. So below my layer of my outline, I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to switch to this really light yellow. I'm going to bump my pen size all the way up to 100, and I am going to color in the inside of this duck. I like using the side of my brush because then it gives it that really nice shading look to it, which is kind of why I like using this brush in the first place, because it gives you that texture. Even though we're drawing digitally, it does add a little bit of different look to it, and it's just, I think it looks nice. I also, whenever I'm coloring in large pieces or large areas like this, I usually draw or color in circles. So that way, if we do have, where I do have overlap of my colors, I don't see the lines because it's in that circular motion. It kind of takes care of that for me. Okay. So this is why I have two different layers. I'm going to merge these two together, and then I'm going to use my smudging tool set to my drawing brush, my 6B pencil, and I am going to go all over the outline, and I am going to smudge these two colors together. So that way it makes that a nice shadow. I don't have to come back in and make shadows, but it also gives that nice blend to the colors. I don't have a hard line between my dark yellow outline and my light yellow for his body or for the inside coloring. It softens it up a little bit using this smudge of the outline and my color. So I'm just going to use that 6B pencil, and again going over that outline where my dark yellow is, and I'm just going to smudge the two together. Okay. I'm going to do the same steps for his body and his wings. So coming into my layers, come back to my body. I'm going to go to the layer below it, click the plus sign to add a new layer. Make sure I'm set on that 6B pencil. going to color in his body. Okay, I'm going to merge those two layers together, use my smudge tool again to go around the outline. Now right here on his belly, I am going to take that smudge of the darker color a little bit farther in, just again so you get that nice little shadow of his cute little pudgy belly. Okay, come back into my layers. I'm going to add a new layer in between his body that I just did and the wing, so click the plus sign. Back to my pencil and color in his wing. Now, even though the color of the wing is the same as the body, I am going to color in the whole area because, again, I'm going to use that smudge tool to blend them together. Okay, and then lastly, his other wing, the same steps. Come in and merge the two layers together, and then use my smudge tool . All right, next I'm going to come into the beak. I'm going to use this lighter shade of orange. Okay, same thing, merge the two, use the smudge tool. All right. Next, for our boots, I'm going to come down into this layer. I'm gonna do the same steps. So add a layer underneath, come back to a lighter color blue, color those in. I'm actually going to move some layers around so that way his legs look like they're behind his boots instead of coming on top of them like this. So I'm going to tap that layer, I'm going to hold it and drag it below my boots layer so now you don't see, it looks like his legs are sitting in his boots. Next, we're going to draw our umbrella and get that colored in before going in and adding our cute little daisy details and everything else onto our duck. So the line of the umbrella, I want it to sit behind his head, so you're not going to see it here, but you are going to see it come in between his two wings right here. So in my layers, it needs to sit in between my two wings. This is my front wing, so I want it behind my front wing. And I want it on top of my back wing. So I'm going to put this layer on top of the body. So I'm gonna add a plus sign right there, add a layer, come into my colors and go to black. Make sure I have my 6B pencil. Draw my straight line. So now I see it coming on top of this wing and behind this one, and it is behind his head. And then again, going in and adding that little hook down at the bottom of his umbrella. Just to give it a nice little flourish. Okay, on top of this, I'm going to come back in with that dark blue. I'm going to draw the outline for his umbrella. Okay. And then for this, I am going to switch to a light blue. And I'm going to drag that light blue into his umbrella just to quickly fill it in instead of going in and coloring. I'm also going to make the little knob on top of his umbrella orange. I'm going to put that in between so that way it looks like it's sitting on top of, so it's behind my umbrella. Go back to the orange, that's the same color as his beak, and draw a circle. And then drag to fill. Okay, I'm going to add his eye and then we will work on adding in all of the details. So on the layer for his head, I'm going to change to black and then I'm going to change my pen to this dry ink because it gives a nice outline. It's not clean and I think it looks really cute. So his eye is going to be turned looking up, like he's looking up at the rain falling down. Ooh, that's too big. We're going to resize that. Let's do 20. There we go. And then I'm also going to add a white kind of reflection in it. Go. I'll work on that outline just a little bit. Okay. There we go. Okay, next up we're going to start adding in details to our umbrella, to our boots, and then adding in the rain and the drops of water coming down. So the first detail that I'm going to add is actually going to be this shadow that I have underneath this wing, showing where they're on top of the other. So I'm going to come into my layers, and I'm going to add this shadow first as a clipping mask on his body. So click on the body layer, add the plus sign, click on that layer and select clipping mask. I'm going to come into select black for my color, and then in my brushes I'm going to come into airbrushing and have that soft brush selected. Now I do have it set around 3 for the size, and then I'm just going to draw along that wing. I also have this wing overlapping this other one, so I'm going to do the same thing on this wing right here. I'm going to add a new layer, make it a clipping mask, and I'm just going to continue that shadow. So it looks like one continuous shadow from this wing onto his body. I'm now going to come into my adjustments and add a blur to this shadow so it's not as intense. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing to this part of the shadow as well. Okay. I'm going to come back in with my eraser on this one, just to tone that blur down a little bit. Same right here. And I'm also going to come into those layers, click on the in, and I'm going to turn that opacity down to about 30%. So you can still barely see that shadow, but again, it's not as intense. Okay. You could also add a shadow here to show the difference between his head and his body. I left that alone. I just added a cute little shadow here on his wings. Okay, next up we're going to work on adding our daisies into our umbrella. So in my layers, I'm going to go to my umbrella layer, click the plus sign. I'm going to set this as a clipping mask, and then I'm going to change my brush to my monoline, which can be found in your calligraphy brushes. Okay, I'm going to set that to white. I'm going to set it to light yellow first so I can draw the center of my daisy. Okay. Going to add a new layer in between them, and then I'll merge them. So I'm going to change to white. Still on my monoline brush. Turn that down. Let's go to 4. Okay, and then use my color drop to fill. Now the reason I put these on 2 layers is because now I can select this yellow layer and I can make the center of my daisy a little bit bigger. And then when I get something that I like, I can then merge those 2 together. And now I can resize and move it around. Okay, so I am going to duplicate this daisy several times and just move them around my umbrella to create a really cute pattern. Now I also want it to look like my daisies are coming off of my umbrella. So when I have it set over here, you see how, because it's a clipping mask, it doesn't show up here. It looks like it's folding over. So I'm just going to repeat this duplicating step until I get my umbrella full of my little daisies. Okay, so now that I have all of my daisies where I want them, I'm going to merge all of these layers together to create one. So I'm just going to pinch all of these layers together until I have them all on one. And now I have one layer full of daisies on top of my umbrella. Now I'm going to do the daisy pattern on the boots as well. So come down to my boots, I'm gonna merge those two layers together. Oops, put a layer on top, click on that layer and do clipping mask again. I'm gonna go through the same steps. I'm gonna have my light yellow selected with monoline. Okay, go through the same process, white, and make that, turn that down to 1 for the brush size. Fill and make the center just a little bit bigger, and then merge these two together, so now I can make it smaller. Now on the boots, because I only want the daisies on this light color blue, wherever I have it touching the dark blue, I'm actually going to erase it. I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to come back to this first daisy. Make sure I have my eraser set to monoline and turn it all the way down. So now it looks like that daisy is only on the inside color of my rain boot. And then I'm going to follow the same steps that I did on the umbrella by duplicating these daisies and moving them around my rain boot. And wherever I have it on the dark blue, I'm going to erase it. Okay, and just like I did with my layers at the top, I'm going to merge them together. Before I merge all of them, I'm going to select this one. I'm going to duplicate it and bring it over to my other boot. Now I'm going to merge these together. So now I'm duplicating this one daisy on the other boot. And just like I did, I'm going to pinch all of those layers together to create one. Okay, we are almost done. We're just going to work on our raindrops next. So for the raindrops, I am going to set the layer at the very back. So here's my sketch layer. I'm going to create a layer in between my sketch and all of my other layers, so this water, the puddles and the raindrops end up behind everything else. Okay, so in my color palette, I'm gonna go with this lighter blue right here. And for the puddles, I'm going to change my brush to the ink bleed. I'm gonna set that down to 12%. I'm going to draw the outline of my puddles. Drag to fill. Okay. Now on all of these, I am going to set a clipping mask. So click the plus sign for a new layer, select clipping mask, and I'm going to change the blending mode from normal to multiply. So I'm still in that lighter blue, but I'm gonna change the pen size up to about 45%. And since I have a clipping mask on, I'm going to draw on the outside of these puddles just to add that darker blue. And I'm gonna go back in and I'm going to use the smudge tool. I'm gonna set that to my ink bleed. Change that up to 100. And I am going to work on creating just the shadows within the puddles. So it's darker on the outside and lighter on the inside. Okay, and last one. All right, I'm gonna add a new layer, still with this really light blue and my ink bleed brush. Now I'm gonna turn that brush down to 8%, and I'm gonna start adding in my raindrops. Let's bump that up. Let's see. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to use my color fill. Oops. And then click on continue to do color drop. Oops. Fill in the rest of my raindrops as long as they're closed. It's closed. Okay, so on those I need to go back in and close them. Okay. And again, I'm going to come in, add a clipping mask onto this layer, change the blending mode to multiply, and then I am just going to add kind of that shadow to the outside of my raindrops. use my smudging tool. And I'm pressing really lightly so that it gives that natural kind of gradient to it. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to add are these lines just showing the movement of the water falling down. Okay, and then my last step is to come into my background color, and I'm going to change it to this really light blue so that everything stands out. I come in and turn my reference off, turn my sketch off, and there we have our cute little baby duck hanging out in the rain. Thank you so much for drawing with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you're notified when new videos are posted. Hope to see you soon.